Welcome in here on Live Impact News this Friday evening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here on Live Impact News. We have a lot to get to. And the first thing we want to get to is the government shutdown. It is day 38 of the government shutdown. Still some developments that we are tracking on the Senate floor. Also within the Trump administration when it comes to SNAP benefits, they're agreeing to fully fund SNAP benefits. But as that stuff sorts stuff out, we as the WCNC Charlotte, partnering with Nourish Up on an emergency food drive that is happening tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. At Holy Comforter Episcopal Church on Park Road here in Charlotte to help families in need, again, amid the government shutdown, day 38 of the government shutdown. And earlier, our Vanessa Rufus got a chance to chat with the COO of Nourish Up. Let's take a listen into that interview.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us here on Live Impact News. I'm Vanessa Rufus. We continue to cover the local impacts of the ongoing government shutdown. As you might remember now, as of this week, the longest in U.S. history. We are in day 38 right now. And we mentioned this as well as we speak, the Senate in session discussing an updated plan to partially fund the government past Thanksgiving with a full year's of funding for some agencies, but not all. We'll keep an eye on how that fares in the Senate. Meantime, we've got a local impact we've been talking about. That's the impact of these SNAP benefits being in limbo. Actually, just this morning, we broke the news that the Trump administration actually formally filed a emergency pause request on the federal judge ruling from yesterday afternoon, which ordered the administration to fully fund SNAP this month. So that is also, keep in mind, making its way through the court system as we speak. I want to bring in Nourish Up right now. COO Danielle Moore is joining us to talk about this emergency food drive, which is underway because we know, Danielle, there are some big impacts to folks in our community because of the SNAP and also just the ongoing shutdown with federal workers not getting paid. Y'all have been seeing a major increase, right, in the folks coming for help to your agency, your organization?
Yes, that's correct. We went and saw pretty much a 20% increase overnight since the government shut down and the neighbors that we're serving. So those furloughed federal workers that aren't receiving a paycheck, and now 140,000 plus SNAP recipients that aren't receiving benefits are calling our phones. Our lines are off the hook. We cannot answer them fast enough. And many people have showed up to our doors just looking for whatever they can find. And so we're here so people don't have to make the tough decision between putting food on their table or keeping a roof over their head.
Yeah, I mean, that 140,000 figure you mentioned, that is just Mecklenburg County alone. We know that there are 1.4 million North Carolinians who rely on SNAP benefits. And there was a figure that you shared with our news team earlier this week, which I think is really telling just the scope of how impactful SNAP is for these folks. The fact that you are saying that your organization, just Nourish Up, for every one person you feed, it's 9 people that SNAP feeds. And so kind of putting into perspective, you were saying, I mean, specifically to kind of paraphrase what you were saying, this is not a task that just Nourish Up or even Nourish Up with a bunch of local food pantries can actually band together and even try to touch. This is something that, SNAP is hugely impactful, and this is being greatly missed by the folks who rely on this. What have you been doing in the meantime to try to, I guess, get a handle on this mountain that is in front of you right now?
Yeah, so we are in emergency response mode. We are at the moment having mass packing and distribution events throughout the county. And what that looks like for us is really just ramping up operations, from purchasing more tractor trailer loads of food to packing more food boxes, and then of course having distribution sites where we can serve up to 500 in about 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, I was actually at your distribution site yesterday afternoon, the one at Eastern Hills Baptist Church, and it was a really eye-opening experience. I've done, volunteer work with Nourish Up before, but it was my first time at this specific distribution site. And so we were actually able to speak with a woman who said that she receives SNAP benefits, and so she said that this is a burden with the government shutdown, with those benefits being in limbo. But we were seeing other folks who it seemed like maybe it was their first time coming to you all for help, including there was a woman and her story. I mean, this sticks with me still. I mean, I think about she walked to the distribution site. She had a young child with her, and they actually walked, and they were actually going to walk home with their boxes of food until, after speaking with some of the volunteers, everyone was able to convince them to essentially take a lift back, like a ride share back, so they didn't have to walk back with all of their food. But she essentially, it sounded like she wasn't sure, like, is this the place to go? I've never done this before. And it was just really telling to me how quickly folks' circumstances can change. In a situation like this, maybe folks who might have never thought about, I might need food assistance, are now having to think about this right now.
Yeah, that is unfortunately a very common story. A lot of people that receive our services are actually new to food insecurity and hunger themselves. They've never experienced it before, especially when you think about someone that may be gainfully employed one day and then the next day they don't receive a check, right? And so we make sure that we educate the community that, what hunger looks like is you and I. It could be any one of us at any time, and all it takes is one crisis, like a government shutdown, like COVID, like your car needing a battery replaced, to find yourself on the side of needing services and that hand up.
And I mean, I know you mentioned the 20% figure, that bump that you saw in clients since the government shutdown happened. I can tell you, your team told our team, because we had the whole WCNC Charlotte folks who were able to get to that distribution site to help out yesterday. Your team told us that just for that distribution event, as it relates to what you typically expect for the numbers at that event, it was a 49% increase, they were telling us. So it was even larger than kind of the average that you say that you've been seeing. I'm curious, how the different ways folks can help, because obviously we've been talking about this emergency food drive. So the non-perishable food, we're definitely inviting folks to come on over to Holy Comforter Episcopal Church from 10 to 4 p.m. And you can bring those non-perishable items to donate in person. We've been talking about donating via, basically online. You can text Stuff the Truck to 50155, and you'll get some information on how to donate online. And you were saying that you actually have some great buying power, in the sense of the monetary donations you get can actually probably go a lot further than maybe just an average consumer going to the grocery store trying to pick up, let's say, $50 worth of groceries.
Yeah, it certainly can, and that's just because we purchase in such volume. Again, when you're feeding 165,000 people, that's tractor trailer loads of food, right? And so we can get green beans, for example, at a way cheaper price than the average person can from even some of those wholesalers like Sam's, Costco's, and BJ's. So, I encourage you to donate online, nourishup.org. Definitely, you can donate the food. So think about things you and your family might want to eat, and those are the healthy type of things that we would encourage you to donate. And if you're anything like me and you're an online shopper, we also have an Amazon wish list that you can just a click of a button order food and have it delivered right to our door. So all of those ways are great ways to get involved.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to ask about, for folks who maybe feel like they are not, with the means of being able to give at this time, but they still want to help. I know that y'all accept volunteers. Like I said, I've done work before where, you can go in the warehouse and you can help pack boxes. I've done the delivery driver volunteering where you actually have the boxes get packed up and you drive them to folks' homes if, they're homebound or there's some reason that they can't go in person to shop in your food pantries. What sort of volunteer opportunities will you have for folks specifically related to, this emergency response that you have? Are there any particular duties that folks can be doing for you right now as volunteers?
Yeah, so our number one need today as we speak is delivery drivers. We need drivers today that can use their personal vehicle to deliver our Meals on Wheels program. So we deliver a lunchtime meal to homebound seniors, about 500 homebound seniors a day. Or you can also help deliver through our grocery home delivery program. So delivering that week's worth or 7-day supply of groceries to neighbors' homes that can't get out, just like your story, right? A mom and a child having to walk to the pantry and thinking about how they're going to get 60 pounds of food home. Well, if you volunteer today to deliver groceries, that takes the worry off of that mom's plate. That's one less thing that she has to think about. And so today you can sign up to volunteer to deliver groceries or meals. And then as we speak, we are adding additional packing shifts in our warehouse so that we can continue to ramp up our emergency food box inventory.
How can folks sign up?
If you go to our website, nourishup.org, there is an entire volunteer tab with all of the opportunities listed, and it's a few clicks of a button. There's a sign up online.
All right, very good to know for folks out there. Definitely encourage them to check that out. I think, personal experience, it's a great experience no matter which roles you take on, but the delivery driver one is particularly, great in the sense that while you don't always interact or interface with the folks you're dropping the food off, I mean, you can essentially leave it there at their door, but sometimes you get to chat with folks, and it's really eye-opening to get to meet your neighbors and, hear their stories. So anything you'd like to leave our viewers with here on Live Impact before we wrap things up, either about the specific emergency drive or just in general, how things have been going just in general in the last several weeks or months for Nourish Up?
Yeah, if I had one final thing to leave the viewers with, of course, you can always donate money and donate food and certainly donate your time through volunteering. But if you don't have capacity to do any of the other things, at the very least, please, please, please call your lawmakers and let them know, again, that there is a crisis. We are in a critical time where, again, no single organization, Nourish Up or anyone else, can fill in the gap for our nation's frontline defense against hunger, which is SNAP. So please call your lawmakers and advocate on behalf of our neighbors that can't do it themselves. They are counting on us to make our voices heard and let them know that we need these benefits released immediately. It's affecting people's lives.
Danielle Moore with Nourish Up, thank you so much for your time and all the work that you do in the community. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll remind you one more time the details on the food drive, just for folks who want to write this down or put this on their phone. So the in-person donation is this Saturday, so tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Holy Comforter Episcopal Church. That's at 2701 Park Road. Non-perishable food items accepted there. Online donation, stuff the truck, one word, stuff the truck to 50155. That will basically send you a link that you can donate through your phone. And you heard Danielle talking about the fact that that is very, important for them because they have some great buying power as they're able to buy food in bulk. So that money will go a long way.
All right, so we are going to step aside for just 2 minutes. We'll be back here, and again, 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, a big night here in the Queen City. Charlotte FC is playing at the Bank against New York City FC. A big game. The winner goes on to the next round. They play Philadelphia Union. So a big matchup. So that match is underway right now. It just kicked off within the last few minutes. But early today, we got a really good preview from Tony Husband. Here's his one-on-one with Vanessa Rufus.
Bring it back here to the Carolinas. Talk about a big match that's happening tonight at the Bank. Charlotte FC with the third match of its best-of-3 series against NYCFC. And there's a lot of anticipation for this. Our resident, let's say, soccer aficionado, producer Jeb Goldman has some insight lined up for us right now. So, Jeb, who are we going to speak with, and what do you got for us this afternoon?
Well, we were just talking about travel, and we'll talk to one of the best-traveled members of the MLS commentary team. I'm joined by Tony Husband. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe the biggest game in Charlotte FC's short but storied history.
That's right. Yeah, it all comes down to the Bank tonight. It's a win or go home affair. Should be a tremendous atmosphere on what looks like it's going to be a beautiful evening here in Charlotte tonight. But a lot of tension, I think, will be in the air as well for this game against New York City. Series tied, two very, very closely matched teams. Not a lot between them at all. So it's going to be fine margins, edge of your seat kind of stuff. But hopefully a must-watch match.
It should be a fantastic matchup between two very good teams that have been razor thin with their margins. Let's put it bluntly, Tony. What does Charlotte FC need to do to win tonight?
They've got to be better offensively, without a doubt. I mean, they've played 180 minutes now of regulation soccer, if you like, against this New York City side, and they failed to score. And goal scoring is a concern. Idan Toklamati, the central striker, leading scorer for Charlotte this season, has not scored since he got a hat-trick against Lionel Messi in Miami back in September. That has to change because they are not going to win this game without scoring some goals against what is a very stout New York City defense. But that is the main area that Dean Smith will be concerned about going into this game. They need to open up the goal channels a little bit, find some way to score some goals to secure that place in the next round of the competition, which would be the conference semifinals later this month.
Wilfried Zaha, the designated player, likely team MVP when all is said and done, back at home for the first time in this series. A little bit wider pitch tonight, which I think should help and lend to his strengths. What do we need to see from him? You talk about getting goals offensively. It's very likely going to run through him. Most goals Charlotte score do. What do you want to see from him, and how can that make the team play better?
I want to see that contribution being good, and I want to see it being high up the field as well. As you say, he's been an outstanding player in his first season in MLS. He's not been shy to go to the media and to use his own channels to just call out some people when they're critical of his performances. He's a very targeted individual, of course, on the field. He was the most fouled player in Major League Soccer this season. That in itself could be a significant factor tonight because it's where he gets the ball on the field. If he gets the ball high up the field, and if he's fouled, then those are set-piece situations for this Charlotte team with some very strong and tall defenders who can get up into the box, because this kind of game could come down to that one set piece, a free kick, something like that around the box that Zaha can deliver with quality, and that could be nodded in by one of their defenders or the likes of a Toklamati up there as well. So Zaha brings so many threats, whether it's on the dribble, whether it is unlocking defenses, setting up chances for other people. But he needs to have a good game tonight if Charlotte are going to get through.
Looking at the main man for New York City, Alonso Martinez, whether you call it a moment of brilliance or blunder with the first goal and only goal of the series so far, personally, I think I speak for a lot of Charlotte FC fans when we were screaming at our televisions when it happened. What do Adelson Malanda and Tim Ream need to do to keep him quiet? Because he can run for days and days and days, and he's a little quicker than our back line, but that doesn't mean they can't keep him quiet like they did last time out.
No, that's right. They'll want to keep him in front of them because you're right. He's fast. He's been recorded at over 22 miles per hour this season. He's a quick player. You don't want to turn this Charlotte backline around. I mean, Tim Ream is in his late 30s now. He will read the game if it's played in front of him far better than if they get in behind him. So that will be the key with him. They'll also want to squeeze things a bit because actually that's where New York City could have an advantage. Maxi Morales sits in that little 10 spot, and if you give him a bit of room, he can dictate play in much the same way that Pep Biel did for Charlotte this season so effectively. And of course, he's a massive miss for Charlotte due to the knee injury that keeps him out for the rest of the season now. So Martinez is certainly a man to watch. Like you say, it was either a piece of brilliance or some bad defending from statuesque type defenders in that first game that ultimately was the difference, and is really the only difference between these two sides over 180 minutes if you take aside the penalty kicks from last week. So keeping him quiet like they did at Yankee Stadium last week is very much the key to success as well.
Speaking of differences, I think while it is another home match, it is going to be a much different home match. The last time out, a Tuesday, dreary Charlotte evening. And while I do believe this is maybe the second city that never sleeps, Tuesday's a tough ask. Tuesday in cold, rainy weather, even tougher. Now, to your point earlier, a beautiful Friday evening in the Queen City. I happen to have it on good authority that this is a very sold-out match. How big of a part do you think the atmosphere tonight will play in the final result?
Well, I come from the school of thought with my English background where our crowds are, I've grown up watching, and seeing how hostility towards an away team, fair hostility, obviously, can change a game. How the fan base rallying behind a home team really can be the 12th man. How you can just push your team across the line. How you can galvanize your players. How you can make it uncomfortable for the opposition. And those are all the kind of things that Charlotte fans would want to do tonight against New York City. To just give them any edge they can, because when you have two teams who are so well matched, you are looking for those finest of margins, any extra advantage, and a sold-out lower bowl bank. That's an advantage for Charlotte. The players have got to feed off that, but the fans are going to have to feed off it as well and really get into this game and keep the noise levels up and back their team, 200%, because this is a huge game, as you mentioned, in Charlotte FC's history. It's a great opportunity for the first time to reach the conference semifinals, and then you're talking about one-off games all the way to MLS Cup. And when you get to that point, anything can happen in a one-off match, and this Charlotte team, with their head coach and the experience they've got, can beat anybody on their day. So, this is a huge moment, and the fans have a huge part to play on what should be, like you say, a very nice evening as well.
A historic game for a historic season for the club. For those of you who will not be making it out today, and there aren't many, you can hear Tony Husband on the call tonight, as he often is. His amazing calling of the games keeps us watching and interested. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
That's really kind of you, Jeb. But what I will say is, if Charlotte fans make lots of noise tonight, I won't need to speak too much. So I look forward to plenty of noise, and let the Charlotte fans be the overwhelming sound tonight.
I have a feeling that is just going to be exactly what happens. Tony, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
Cheers.
7 o'clock tonight at the Bank should be a fantastic match. Hope to see lots of you out there. I happen to know lots of you will be.
And that match is underway right now. We are checking in on the scores, and as soon as we get some updates, we'll pass it along here for you on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. We are tracking some breaking news out of Miami. This is a live look here at the scene there. So Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation. That's according to the sheriff's office there in the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. And this is information from NBC6 South Florida. So on their website, according to NBC6 South Florida, a Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation while conducting a traffic stop on Friday afternoon. The shooting happened shortly before 4 p.m. in the area of Southwest 128th Street. So that is sort of the latest information. There was a press conference that just wrapped up moments ago there. As soon as, and you could see that scene here, as soon as we get more information on this, we'll be sure to pass that along to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So earlier today, we heard from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. He gave an update on how the Pentagon will be purchasing weapons. Let's take a listen into what he had to say from earlier.
Your seats. Well, members of Congress, Deputy Secretary Feinberg, this would not happen without you, without him, without what he's led. Today's not possible, and the reforms you're going to hear about today are not possible. Mr. Chairman, members of the Joint Chiefs, secretaries of our military departments, Undersecretary Duffy as well. Without what has happened at A&S, this is not possible either. Acquisition professionals, corporate leaders, distinguished officials from the Department of War, defense industry officials, good afternoon and welcome. A lot of you came a long way for this, and we are grateful that you took the time to be here with us right now. We think this topic is that important for the future of our nation. Today I'd like to talk to you about an adversary that poses a threat, a very serious threat, to the United States of America. This adversary is one of the world's last bastions of central planning. It governs by dictating in 5-year plans. From a single capital, it attempts to impose its demands across time zones, continents, oceans, and beyond. With brutal consistency, it stifles free thought and crushes new ideas. It disrupts the defense of the United States and places the lives of our men and women in uniform at risk. Perhaps this sounds like the former Soviet Union, but that enemy is long gone. The foe I'm talking about is more subtle and implacable. You may think I'm describing one of the last decrepit dictators of the world, but their day too is almost certainly past. And they cannot match the size and strength of this adversary, nor am I talking about the Chinese Communist Party. The adversary I'm talking about is much closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy. Not the people, but the process. Not the civilians, but the system. Not the men and women in uniform, but the uniformity of thought and action that is too often imposed on them. In the Pentagon, despite this era of scarce resources taxed by mounting threats, money disappears into duplicative duties and bloated bureaucracy, not because of greed, but because of gridlock. Innovation is stifled.
All right, so that was Secretary Pete Hegseth from earlier. We want to get back now to that breaking news out of South Florida. This is live coverage from NBC6 in South Florida there. Again, a Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation while conducting a traffic stop this afternoon. Let's listen in to their continuous coverage.
It's probably one of the reasons why the FBI is involved. Maybe this was some part of a bigger situation. But again, it started with an altercation at that traffic stop that Officer Jaramillo had just responded to try and help folks out. During that altercation, when he got there, the suspect shot the officer at least once. MDSO is trying to determine if the deputy was shot with his own gun. We do not know whether or not he was shot with his own gun or another gun, but we do know tonight that a young 27-year-old officer who studied law enforcement, who probably this was his life's ambition, is dead tonight, no longer with us, and a whole community and all of law enforcement really in the state, and I would say even the country at this point, are mourning the loss of this young man.
Deputy Jaramillo, you see his images there on the right of your screen, and on the left, this is just outside of Kendall HCA Hospital. Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office has confirmed this evening that the body of Deputy Jaramillo will be brought to the medical examiner's office. Not too sure of a specific time, but that is a confirmation here from MDSO this evening. Unfortunately, Trina, we cover situations like this, so normally what happens, the course of action in a situation like this, and the reason why we see all the officers, law enforcement from all sorts of different municipalities lined up at a ready outside, why we have seen the 2 fire ladders, why we have seen that tribute flag outside, is because we are expecting the body of Officer Jaramillo to be put into the back of a Miami-Dade Fire Rescue vehicle, then taken to the medical examiner's office, and then the procession from motormen, the procession from the patrol vehicles, from friends, from colleagues, will then escort the body of Jaramillo, Deputy Jaramillo, to the medical examiner's office.
So, Roxy, we are getting confirmation that, in fact, for sure, there is video out there that appears to show the argument and then the suspect, the assailant, shooting the officer with his own gun. And so that is why Deputy Devin Emilio, a 27-year-old officer, is no longer with us tonight.
And we are choosing not to air that video. And in a world of social media where everybody has a phone, the first thing people do these days is take out a phone and take pictures and take video. That's just the day and age that we live in. There is a lot of noise out there, which is why we thank you for turning to us. We sift through the noise, we break down the facts, and we bring it to you. There is video, and we are choosing to not show it because it is alarming to watch. So we can confirm, as Trina just said, that video does show this suspect clearly pulling the weapon from Deputy Jaramillo and using it, and we are choosing not to show it, obviously out of respect for his family and for the community as well.
All right, let's listen in to once again from Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz. She spoke very emotionally about what happened tonight and gave us that message: this cannot happen again. Let's listen in.
I want to start out by saying that today is not okay. What happened today in Miami-Dade County and to our deputy was not okay. And today will never be okay. I ask our community to pray for the family of our fallen deputy, to pray for all of us, because we're a family and we are hurting. I ask this community to pray for our community. Pray so that we can find a way that things like this never happen again. Our deputy, Devin Jaramillo, responded to a traffic crash. And when he responded there, he was brutally attacked and he was murdered. Samaritans called 911 and deputies responded to provide first aid. And they worked him until he was transported here to this hospital and he succumbed to his injuries. He's not only a deputy, he's a son, he is a brother, and he is a friend.
And that was Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz of the Miami Sheriff's Office, very choked up, very poignant, very upset about what happened to that young officer. And again, apparently there was a fight, a struggle, an argument, an altercation at a traffic crash, and it led to young officer, 27-year-old Devin Jaramillo, being shot with his own weapon. Deputies tried to save him, rushed him from the scene, didn't even wait for the ambulance, took him right to the hospital, but unfortunately he died from that gunshot wound that he suffered at that scene from the suspect.
Trina, Miami Beach Police Chief Wayne Jones, he just posted on behalf of the Miami Beach Police Department. We just heard from Chief Jones a couple of weeks ago at Ryder Trauma, speaking on behalf of his department, mourning the loss of Officer Cajuso, who died in a motorcycle accident. And Chief Jones just posted his condolences on behalf of the Miami Beach Police Department, saying they join the law enforcement family in mourning the tragic loss of Deputy Devin Jaramillo of the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, who passed away today, offering prayers and solidarity as well. Just incredible today, the how this event's unfolded. A crash in Southwest Miami-Dade. Deputy Jaramillo doing his job, doing his due diligence, responding. And then this ensued today. Deputy Jaramillo, 27 years young. You just saw his image there on your screen. To the left, that is a camera from the ground where we could see some of the vehicles lined up. And to the right, we see the two ladders up and the American tribute flag, where we will await to see the motorcade accompany the body of Deputy Jaramillo to the medical examiner's office at some point this evening.
Yeah, and this just is a gut punch for the entire community. Of course, law enforcement is feeling it more than anyone else, because it's just inexplicable how something like this happens. You're doing your job, you respond to a traffic crash to help someone, and you end up getting shot and never going home to your family and your loved ones. We thank him for his service. Such a young man who, of course, this probably was his lifelong ambition, since his dad also was in law enforcement. But he will be missed, he will be honored, and
all right, so that's coverage from NBC6 there in South Florida. Again, the big news there and breaking news there that we're continuing to follow. A Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation while conducting a traffic stop this afternoon. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We want to go back out now to our continuous coverage there in Miami. NBC6 South Florida is doing their continuous coverage after a Miami-Dade Sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation while conducting a traffic stop this afternoon. Let's take a listen in to their coverage.
All of the law enforcement are near the hospital, and where the flag is raised, it's probably an impossibility to get in or out of that area. And again, let's just recap a little bit. This jumped off around, say, 4:20, 4:30 this afternoon. Reports of a deputy shot. We now know that the deputy got into a physical fight, an altercation, an argument, fisticuffs with someone at a traffic crash that he had merely responded to doing his job. He probably got a call on his radio saying that there was an accident. He rolled over there to give assist, to lend a hand, figure out what was going on. During that, the fight ensued. He got shot. His fellow officers felt that the situation was so grave that they couldn't even wait for the ambulance, and they just put him in the squad car and rushed him to the hospital, where we now know that he died from Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz. Just a very sad day for our community. Just a sad and senseless day where you look for some consolation, some explanation for this crazy violence that just should never, ever happen.
From just outside of Kendall HCA Hospital, we want to take you closer to the scene with Lorena Inclán, who's been there speaking with business owners, with members of the community, getting a better idea of what's happening closer to the scene. Lorena, take us there. What can you tell us?
Well, right now, this area still continues to be blocked off. You can see deputies working here. However, they have started to let a few people go eastbound on 128th Street, but it still remains blocked off. They are telling cars they have to go elsewhere. Some people were confused, and I saw a little while ago there was a bit of a confusion between the deputy and one of the drivers that was trying to go beyond their squad cars. But we're on 128th Street and 127th Avenue. As you can see, this area continues blocked off. But earlier, I did get to speak with a business owner who works nearby. She happened to be near where the shooting happened when she was getting some supplies for her business, and she heard the gunshots. Take a listen to what she told me earlier.
I own a business actually right in the front, Wax House, and I was actually getting material for where the scene of the situation happened, and all I heard was just gunshots and then a swarm of police officers coming to the scene of the accident. From what I understood, it happened in the public shopping center, and then when I looked at my Ring camera to see what actually happened, it was a suspect who shot at a police and then decided to end his life afterwards, and then I guess he had a friend or another suspect that was there that had fled the scene.
And we're still working to confirm a lot of these details, but after you heard those gunshots, describe to me what you saw.
I mean, honestly, in this community, you don't really hear any of those things. So my first reaction was to tell the rest of my clients for the day to stay home and for their safety to please stay home, because my first priority is always that, the safety of others. So that was my first priority, and my second one was to come and close my business to make sure that everything was okay.
You said earlier you were there to gather some items for your business. Describe that area back there.
Well, there's a Publix shopping center and a Dollar Tree, so I was getting cleaning materials from Publix when I heard the gunshots happen. And then to confirm, my partner's friend, who also works in that area, said that he also heard gunshots, so it was a confirmation that something definitely had happened.
Back out here live, you can imagine how startling, how scary it was around that time, around 4 in the afternoon, to hear those gunshots in an area you'd never expect that to happen. And then to hear these details that this deputy was responding to a traffic crash when, according to Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz, she said he was brutally attacked and then, in her words, murdered. Learning all those details, truly shocking about what transpired here earlier today in broad daylight on a Friday, when people are just starting to get out of their jobs, starting to get the weekend going, and then to hear such a tragic event happen in an area that is surrounded by a lot of people. You heard that she heard those gunshots, so a lot of people did as well, and you can imagine there probably were some other witnesses around that area as well who saw all this happen. But it's also led to a lot of traffic. We took a long time to get here because there was traffic everywhere you went. A few miles away took you 40 plus minutes to get there. You can see this is still blocked off, although I have seen seen a couple of people, if you have some business here, or they're talking to some people, and maybe some have been able to pass by, but for the most part, you cannot go eastbound further than 127th Avenue here on 128th Street, and 127th Avenue is the exact corner where we're standing right now. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Lorena, thank you so much for that live report and that additional information. It's just a mind-numbing situation that a young officer, only 27 years old, could go to respond to help people at a traffic accident, end up in a fight, and hours later ends up dead.
And Lorena was painting a picture of the businesses there and people who work there. And we heard from Sheriff Rosie Cordero-Stutt say Good Samaritans are the ones that called 911 while his fellow officers worked on him. And then he was transported via the ground to Kendall HCA close by. Lorena was talking about the traffic impacts here. So I want to break it down for you because it's certainly impacting a major part of our community. Southwest 120th Street and the Turnpike remains closed. Southwest 122nd Avenue, it is shut down between Southwest 120th Street and 128th Street, so 8 blocks there. And then Southwest 128th Street is closed between 122nd Avenue and 125th Avenue. So a major closure there, a very large radius in our area. And as a result, the southbound lanes, there's a map for some perspective for you. We've been checking in. We know that the southbound lanes of the Turnpike on the exit there, 228th, that is just, it was like a parking lot there. So obviously detours around the area. Anybody that was trying to get Kendall HCA Hospital, a very busy hospital, a trauma hospital as well, with patients that need to be seen, other emergencies happening in our community. The exit ramps from the Turnpike there to Bird Road was congested. It was backed up. It was a parking lot. Obviously, the procession that we are anticipating to happen soon, as a live look here. As we look west here at the tribute flag raised up high, law enforcement responding from all sorts of different municipalities as the body of Deputy Jaramillo will be escorted to the medical examiner's office this evening.
And we presume that this is going to take a little bit now, so unfortunately the folks who are in that area who haven't been able to get out probably won't be able to get out anytime soon. Just in looking at the sea of red and blue lights from law enforcement, just literally dozens, maybe even hundreds of them there to escort his body to the medical examiner's office. So folks, just be patient. This is not normal. It's not okay, as the sheriff said. And unfortunately, you're just going to have to be patient until this kind of winds down for the evening and his body is taken away. But our prayers and thoughts are with his family. His dad is in law enforcement, retired. This must be just a horrific night for his family and anyone who knew him or worked with him, because you never expect, even they know their job is dangerous, but you never expect to probably go to a traffic crash and end up in a fist fight and end up dead. So it's just not good. It's not normal, and society just has to do better.
A deputy, a brother, a friend to so many. We do want to share some video. This is emotional. This is video of Deputy Jaramillo being awarded the Officer of the Month award when he worked for the Coral Gables Police Department. This was in July of 2023, according to Coral Gables Police Department. Officer Jaramillo apprehended a package theft suspect, and he was able to clear out 3 other theft cases. And as a result, this is video that we're sharing with you of when he was with the Coral Gables Police Department. So this is when he received this honor of being awarded Officer of the Month in July of 2023. And that is a video that you see Chief Hudak the award, and then he speaks there. So this is video that we found in our archives, one of the many stories that we do recognizing our law enforcement. But on this evening, tough to see that, but one of his many accolades, Trina.
Yeah, and obviously very diligent and loved what he did and did it well enough that he was awarded and recognized for it. So many in this community will miss him tonight. People who don't even know him, I'm sure, are praying for his family and are just shaken by this whole situation. I don't even want to start to think about the trauma of people who were in and around that traffic crash, who witnessed this horrific incident. But as days and time goes on, we'll learn more of exactly what transpired, because apparently there is so much video out there of what took place.
This evening, we heard from Sheriff Rosie Cordero about 20-30 minutes ago. She had very strong words to say. We want to listen to a snippet of what the sheriff had to say to the community this evening.
I want to thank all of our fellow law enforcement agencies that have stepped up today to help us, to support us, to send words of encouragement. The next few days are going to be very difficult for us, and we will still continue to make this county safe. But I remind you all, as my final word here, what happened to our deputy is not okay. He gave the ultimate sacrifice, his life, defending us, defending you. And we need to understand as a society and as a community that that is just unacceptable. We will not accept that ever. I am grateful for the words of support, and I thank everybody again who has in their own way reached out to show their support and love. And I'm grateful to the men and women who provide the safety to our community every single day. Thank you very much.
And that was Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz fighting back emotion, choked up with the loss of that young deputy. And we cut away a little bit there, but some of the deputies and officers behind her were wiping away tears. And who wouldn't be wiping away tears on a night like this, where a young man, a young officer doing his job, doing what he loved, living out his calling, is wiped away, killed in the line of duty when he responded to a traffic crash. That young officer is Devin Jaramillo, age 27, a local young man who just was doing the job that he cared so much about. And it even, Roxy just went through the video earlier, who had been recognized for his exemplary performance on the job.
Trina, when we hear the sheriff's shaky voice, it is just a human reminder. She is the shepherd with her flock of sheep. She is a leader of the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, but she's human. We're all human. So it was tough for her there to stand and address the community, flanked by her fellow deputies. She was hurt. She was angry. The first thing she said when she spoke at the podium is, I want to start out by saying that today is not okay. What happened today in Miami-Dade County and to our deputy was not okay, and today will never be okay. And she's right. It's not. What happened today is not okay. As the sheriff broke down details of what happened today, she said that he responded to a crash. Deputy Devin Jaramillo responded to a traffic crash, and when he responded there, she said he was brutally attacked and he was murdered. And this evening, the sheriff's office is investigating that this suspect, according to video that has been showed in this ongoing investigation from Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, that the suspected shooter used the deputy's weapon, and with the deputy's weapon shot and killed him. That is part of the investigation that will continue late into the early hours this evening. At the scene, we know at least 2 suspects were found dead, and police are still investigating how that suspect died, whether he took his own life. It is not clear as to the number of suspects. But again, when we take you back to the scene, 12-242, you're not looking at that. What you are looking at now, live images on both sides of your screen. This is just outside of Kendall HCA Hospital. But the scene, which is 12242 Southwest 128th Street in Southwest Miami-Dade, near the Three Lakes neighborhood. That is where the ongoing investigation sets up. That is where the large radius of closures continues, where the mobile police command unit is, where that green Mustang with the yellow tarp is, where the investigation will focus and will continue as to what happened tonight. And as we heard from the sheriff, pray for us that we figure out a way that this never happens again.
Yeah, this is anything but normal, and this really just shakes you to the core. When you see just a young, vibrant young man like that at the beginning of his career has been taken from us. But we watch and wait for the caravan, the tribute of officers who will escort his body to the medical examiner's office. You see that sea of blue and red of his brothers and sisters lined up to support him, to let him know that even to the end they are with him. You saw the beautiful flag that Roxy has referenced several times, flying and flapping in the wind, a reminder that we are all Americans, even when horrible things like this happen. It's just one of those nights that you sit and take reflection on the importance of life and the importance of duty, and just how something like this could happen. And in the days and weeks to come, we will find out more details of exactly what transpired, what happened that someone would take a young officer's life in a match in a minute.
The Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office posted as well on Facebook, in addition to what we heard from the sheriff this evening, in part here, Deputy Jaramillo's legacy of integrity, compassion, and courage will continue to live on in the hearts of all who had the privilege of knowing and serving alongside him.
So, of course, we've got plenty of information, all that we know right now, on the NBC6 app and also at NBC6.com. We will bring you live team coverage tonight at 11 p.m. Make sure you join us then on the death, the murder of a young deputy. Deputy Devin Jaramillo, 27 years old, is no longer with us. More coverage at 11.
That was continuous coverage there from NBC6 South Florida after a Miami-Dade sheriff's deputy died after he was shot during an altercation while responding to a traffic crash this afternoon. All right, we're going to take a step away. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So it is day 38 of the government shutdown, and there are a lot of impacts when it comes to the shutdown. One of those impacts, we're talking about travel, is specifically air travel. Airports, the FAA, I should say, reducing flights, which by next week will be 10%. A reduction of flights, and a lot of folks are scrambling trying to figure out their flight situations ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. And so that is looming for a lot of people, again, as this government shutdown continues. Earlier today, we heard from Secretary Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He talked about the latest news within the aviation sector, again, as this shutdown continues. Let's take a listen in. He was in Washington, D.C. earlier today. Let's take a listen in.
First off, air traffic controllers, a critical part of our aviation infrastructure. Wonderful men and women who serve the American people. They do a great job. They have had one paycheck where they got a partial payment. The second paycheck was flat zero. They just got notice that the second full paycheck will be a big fat zero. That comes next week. And so there's been a lot of pressure on the controllers. And when that happens, I'm asking them to come to work. That's important they come to work. But some of them are new to the business. They don't have a nest egg that they've been able to plan for and prepare for. And if you don't get two paychecks, they're confronted with, like anybody else would be confronted with, how do I not just pay the rent, pay the car payment, but there's a gas bill, electric bill, there's a TV bill, there's food on the table, there's gas in the car, real life expenses that they're having to think through. And some of them have made the decision to not come to work but go take a second job. And what that has done is put a lot of pressure on the air traffic control system. And you've seen that play out over the course of the month with more delays and more cancellations. And by the way, it's not in the same place every day. One day it might be in LA, then it might be in New York, and then it's Houston or Dallas or Orlando. It's never the same place. And so we look at data. What is the data telling us today? And just as a side note, these two things are not related, but for the issue of data, we had a DCA air crash. And before that crash, there was information, had someone looked at the data, that there were near misses. And someone should have said, listen, stop the cross traffic. The data says, don't do it. Well, no one looked at the data. Well, we learned from that. We should look at data and what's happening. And so as we've done that through the FAA safety team, we're seeing loss of separation in the airspace. There's spacing for aircraft. There's been incursions in those separations. Those numbers have gone up. There's more incursions on the ground. And then we've had more complaints from pilots that have said, well, the controller is less responsive to me, or controllers seem to be more stressed. So we looked at that data, and the numbers are going in the wrong direction. This is a really long answer, but I want to explain.
No, yeah, please do. So.
The numbers are going in the wrong direction, and so then what is our response to that? And the response is to take pressure out of the system. And through the safety team, we've talked about lowering the number of flights. And so we were going to do 10% right away. The safety team said that could be even more disruptive. We should actually phase this in, to which we've done that. Today is the first day, 4% reduction. 4 days later, another 2%. 2 days after that, 2%, and then 2% on. And what I'm hoping to do is, again, take the pressure and more risk out of the system. We always try to manage the risk. Nothing is ever fully safe. A car's not safe. Walking down the street's not full. I mean, there's risk in everything we do. I'm trying to minimize the risk through this government shutdown, and bring us to a matrix that matches what we had before the shutdown. And I've had some complaints from Democrats. They've said, well, we want to see the data, and why are you looking at data? And this is political. This has not been political. We have worked overtime to make sure that we minimize the impact on the American people. We're trying to help the American people, and when I start to get attacked by Democrats, that also gets frustrating, because there's a very easy solution to the problem that they put directly on my lap, which is open the damn government. Vote to open the government. So those who snipe at me for having to take really unique action, they put that on my plate. So open it up. And by the way, did anyone remember some of the last shutdowns? I was part of those. We stayed here for a month. I gained 10 pounds, I think, because I ate pizza and the junkiest food. But you sit here every weekend, every day, while the government is shut down, and your family's upset, your kids are annoyed. That people would go home during a shutdown when the American people are suffering is just flat out wrong. Everyone should be here. Everyone should be working. No one should go home. Because, by the way, I saw today I was at DCA. Yeah. I'm gonna let you ask me questions. I'm sorry.
Sure. No,
I was at DCA. There's people going to funerals. There's people who are trying to get home. They can't get home. Why are senators going home? Keep them here, and especially the senators who voted no to open the government up.
Maybe we could put the senators who keep voting to shut the government down on the no-fly list.
That would be a great. Well played, yes.
So, Mr. Secretary, speaking of which, later today we're expecting the Senate to vote again on reopening the government. The Democrats are again expected to vote to keep the government shut down. So it means it's probably going to drag into next week. There's talk that the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune, will keep the Senate in for the weekend. But the point is that this isn't getting resolved today. This isn't getting resolved this weekend. So can you lay out for us what the long-term process here is? Because, okay, we know what's happening today. There's been 700 flights canceled, approximately, or maybe more than that, around the country, and more coming, of course, next week as you scale up to that 10%. But it's not like you can just flick a light switch on once they open the government back up and they magically have a deal in Washington. I would imagine that it's going to take a little bit of time to get this alleviated as well.
Right. So we'll look at the data, look at where the controllers are at, and then give the airlines time to bring those flights back in. And so it'll be a systemic, approach. But again, I want us to go in the right direction of bringing more planes in, not what I have to do now, which is take more planes out. So that makes sense. By the way, just one other. We're like 2,000 air traffic controllers short. We're trying to bring in more controllers. We're trying to hire more controllers. I'm trying to tell young people who are really smart, they're bright. I'm like, this is a great job for you. This is a great career. And then you hear, well, actually, you can go a month and not get paid. It doesn't feel like you have a lot of respect by doing this really important job. And so we're up 20% of our students through the academy. This has a big impact on our ability to make up the difference in that shortage. It makes it harder for me. And long after everyone forgets about the shutdown, I'm going to deal with the consequences of trying to repair the system, which, by the way, I'm asked, what did the last administration do to try to fix these problems? Not a lot. We're going to try to fix them. We're going to take on the hard problems.
Yeah, and I want to get more into the modernization efforts and what's needed to fix the air traffic controller system once the government's reopened. But also, what would your message be to, there's thousands of Americans whose flight plans and travel plans have been disrupted today. There will be tens of thousands over the course of the next several days into next week as this continues. What's your message to those people? What would you say to them?
I would say look at the votes in the Senate and see who voted to open the government and who voted to shut it down. And then I'd call those senators who voted to shut it down. And that's where the blame lies. And that's not for I understand there's true differences of opinion. Sure. And I'm okay with that. But this is not the system we have to address differences in opinion in the legislature. We have legislation, we have debates, and we have votes. And we have elections that set the number of people we have in each party, in each body. If you lost an election, you can't just stomp your feet and pound your fists and say, I want to get my way by holding the American people hostage. We don't do it that way. And so I think Democrats have to come to their senses and maybe leverage a vote, maybe leverage a debate, but to give something up to open the government up, I think would be a mistake on the Republicans' part.
Now, also, we have the holidays looming. Thanksgiving is just a few weeks away. Christmas right around the corner after that. Is your hope that this is resolved by then and that we can get, because we're going to see massive numbers of Americans, maybe record numbers, traveling for the holidays this year. Yeah. Is the hope that this is resolved by then and that we can get everything scaled back up?
I think I'm like every American. I want it to be resolved. I want it to be fixed. But also, I have to continue to look at data. And if this continues and I have more controllers who decide they can't come to work and control the airspace but instead have to take a second job, with that you might see 10% would have been a good number, because we might go to 15% or 20%. And one of the consequences of that too is our airlines, this is going to cost them tens of millions of dollars. This is not cheap for them. It's costly, and it's really disruptive for the traveling public. But again, we do a lot of things at DOT. If you follow, I mean, we have rail and roads and bridges and ports and airports and pipelines. The most important thing we do is safety. That is job one. And the American people look to us and rely on us to make the right decisions, to do all we can to keep them safe when they travel.
Yeah, and we've seen the NTSB, which is the safety board, the independent safety board that monitors you guys. They've been praising your decision to scale back the flights, because they know the impact that we're talking about here with the air traffic controllers and what they're going through. So now, Mr. Secretary, in addition to the people traveling and the effect on the airlines, there's also effect on commerce, right? Like, I mean, we're seeing, there's a lot of people may not understand this, but the UPS, Amazon, FedEx, they fly stuff around the country. And can you explain for us the impact this might have on the broader economy here as well?
I think and I don't think the businesses have been that vocal about the impacts that this is having on their business and on the economy. I think they want to stay out of the politics of this, so they're not being very vocal. But if you talk to them behind the scenes, they're saying, of course this is having a substantial impact on our business. And so I think how long this lasts will dictate what kind of impact it has. But even with air travel, Scott Kirby from United was saying, listen, we see a direct impact on bookings right now during the shutdown. And if people don't fly, that is cars, that is hotels, that is restaurants. I have to imagine a lot of people might want to fly and go see football games this weekend. All of this massive economy is impacted when we reduce the number of people who can travel, and so it will have an impact.
Right. So now, speaking of the broader air traffic controller system, let's say once we get the government reopened and get this back up to normal, I know this has been a major issue for you as Secretary, about focusing in on how do we solve this problem. You mentioned we're 2,000 short as it is anyway. How do we get those numbers back up? You mentioned there's several that are in the school right now. Walk us through the process of this. How do we get to those numbers, and then also the equipment that we need to get into place?
So we have our main academy is in Oklahoma City, and it was the process and the length of time to get a young person who wanted to become a controller could take well over a year, sometimes 2 years. We've streamlined, by the way, if you're 24 years old and you want to be a controller, but you have to wait a year and a half, most of them are going to go find a different career and a different job. So we've streamlined, tightened the time frame in which you can get into the academy. We're giving a bonus when these young people come into the academy, and we're going to pay them more while they're at the academy. The stipend has gone up. So I'm trying to incentivize young people to come in, and our throughput is up 20% this year. We're going to work on improving that as well. On the back end, we have great air traffic controllers who can retire after 25 years of service. And so what I've done is I've asked them, listen, if you'll not retire and you'll stay on the job, we'll give you a 20% upfront cash bonus for the year. And every year after, we're going to pay 20% extra to stay on. Those are the best controllers we have. I want to pay them to not retire. So we're doing that. But it's going to time is what we need. It takes time to build those numbers up. So that's one side of it. The other side is what we're doing on our really old air traffic control system. We're using old, copper wires from the 1980s. It's just, it's actually atrocious. It works, but nothing we should be proud of. And so we need $31.5 billion, which, by the way, to build a brand new system is not a lot of money compared to how much things cost. So $31.5 billion. The Congress in one big beautiful bill gave me $12.5 billion, and we're very specific about how I could use that money. And so it's new radar, radios. The key part of this, if you look back to what happened in Newark, We had a telecom outage. It was a 30-second outage. For the scopes to reboot, it actually took a minute and a half without any scopes or radar. That's actually very concerning for hopefully everybody. We worked with Verizon and others to rebuild those lines. But that shows how old a lot of our telecom is. So we're going to transition from copper to fiber, analog to digital. And this phase is the most complicated part of what we're going to do. And so the network is going to be secure. But if I think about what does a brand new air traffic control system look like, that's the software, right? That's a common automation platform. I don't have the money for that. I have people that are working on that. But when we get the money, we want to move as quickly as possible. But because I don't have it now, that's going to take years to not just develop it, but to debug it and then deploy it to train air traffic controllers on it. So it's a big job and it's a hard job, and that's why I don't think it's been done in the past. It's easy to try to pass this system off, and President Trump has asked us to take on the biggest problems of the country and fix them, and that's what we're doing here.
So on that note of getting the rest of the money that you need to be able to do this, there's talk of another reconciliation package coming together early next year. I know Senator Graham has been talking about that. Have you talked to the president about this? Have you talked to members of the U.S. Senate about this? Are they considering adding more into this next reconciliation plan that they're talking about? I saw some reports yesterday that they seem a lot further along than people expected, which seems, I guess, promising. But your thoughts on that? Yeah.
So President Trump was talking to me about this, even before he gave me the job, and then after he gave me the job, he knows the problems we have with our airspace. So the president is 100% supportive, which is fantastic. We can talk about politics all day long. I can throw blame on the shutdown. What's great about this issue is this is bipartisan.
Sure.
Everybody agrees that this has to be done. And when you have bipartisanship and recognition of the problem, that actually is the best political situation you can have to get the rest of the money. So I'm hopeful they'll give me the rest of it. And by the way, so this is the Common Automation Platform. There's, but some of our towers and centers are they're really, really old. And so not all of them, but many of them have to be rebuilt. And so some of the money in the plan is also for actually bricks and mortar to build, new infrastructure. Our controllers should not have to work in some of the environments that they're working in, on some of the equipment that they're using. And just one last point on that, we do have old equipment. The equipment works, the equipment's safe, but it is old. We have the most efficient, safest airspace in the world, not because of amazing technology. It's amazing controllers is why we have a safe, efficient system. And again, I think it's atrocious that they would be treated this way.
So shifting gears here, big other topic that is very much in the news around that you guys are focused on in the Department of Transportation has been the issue of illegal aliens driving trucks in America. We've been seeing the blue states out there like California, Washington State handing out CDLs to illegal aliens, people in the country illegally, non-citizens, and there have been a number of incidents in the last month or so where these folks have crashed and killed Americans. There were at least two that I've seen. You guys released a bombshell explosive report about California and Governor Newsom not following the law about this. Can you give us the latest on what has happened with regard to this issue and how you guys are reining in states like California on this?
So there's two issues. There's non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. Let me first talk about English proficiency. That was the first issue we came out with. There's a long-standing rule. We didn't create this rule in this administration. It's been here for decades. You have to be proficient in the English language, speaking and then understanding road signs. Pretty common sense for a commercial driver. In the Obama administration, they basically switched the penalty to be a slap on the wrist. No real penalty if you can't speak the language. We went back to the pre-Obama change and would take vehicles out of service, which is very complicated for a company if you're taking their vehicles out of service. We went back to the old rule. one of the problems we have is California was the only state that, in essence, have told their law enforcement officers not to enforce English proficiency rules. Now, that California driver who's not proficient in English, if they drive in Oklahoma and get pulled over, they're like, aha, well, listen, he was pulled over in California, they didn't do anything, but obviously he can't speak the language, so California's not enforcing the rules. So we pulled $40 million from California because of that. The second issue is a non-domiciled CDL. So what does that mean? Oh, the rule. This was set up so if, again, I'm from Wisconsin, I want to go to Texas. I'm not domiciled in Texas, but I want to get a Texas commercial driver's license. I could come from Wisconsin, where I'm a resident. I could go to Texas, and I could get a commercial driver's license in Texas, and it's all legal, and it's made for Americans going from state to state. Well, like many good rules, this was contorted and abused, and now you see foreigners coming into the country and getting non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. It was not intended for them, but that's how the law was contorted, and so these commercial driver's licenses were issued like states in California, like in California, where if I'm here, I'm a foreigner, my work permit lasts until the end of this year, California would issue them a commercial driver's license, maybe that expires 2 years after their work permit. That's an incentive to stay in the country longer, number one. But two, there's no justification to give them I don't know what their status is going to be, after the end of this year. Yeah. So a lot of them were issued illegally. Number one. Number two, some of them weren't here legally at all. So you have an illegal in the country that should actually, when they come into the DMV, they should be deported. Instead, they were given a commercial driver's license. And again, this is our big rigs, but they can also, they can drive hazardous materials, they can drive school buses. Incredibly problematic. And so the country has been flooded with these kind of drivers. It has decimated a lot of our this is not why we're doing it, but it truly has decimated the American truck driver, where it used to be a good living you could make. Not any longer.
I'll tell you, we hear from truckers all the time because we host radio, and a lot of them are listening to satellite radio around the country. I get calls every Saturday morning from at least a handful of truckers around the country, and it has been going on for years, where they are raising these exact issues, particularly the English proficiency issue.
And they're happy now we're addressing it. The president has said, make sure we follow the intent of the laws, and that's what we're doing. So basically, we told every state, you can't issue any more of these non-domiciled CDLs, these foreigner CDLs. So they have stopped. But then we said, you have to go back and review for the ones you've illegally issued. And a lot of states have been willing to comply. Again, California has been unwilling. So there's additional money we can pull from them. At one point, we can pull their authority to even issue commercial driver's licenses. Now, I don't want to fight with Gavin Newsom. I just want them to comply. You want people to be safe, right? And if you see these crashes, it is truly problematic. You want well-trained individuals on American roadways, and I don't think we feel like that's necessarily the case after some of these rogue states.
Right. So now the latest has been that you guys put out this really a bombshell report about how California hasn't followed the laws on this in the lead up to this horrific incident. But can you tell us kind of what's next on the horizon on this? What is the next stages here with Governor Newsom? And by the way, is Governor Newsom, because he didn't follow the laws here, is he responsible for those deaths? Or?
All right, so that was part of the event there in D.C. with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, earlier in Washington, D.C. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back here in just 2 minutes here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We want to go now to Omaha, Nebraska, where the 2025 Ben Nelson Gala is underway. It's emceed by Omaha Mayor John Ewing Jr., also there in attendance. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, the U.S. Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who was on duty during the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And we will hear from, or expect to hear from, former President Joe Biden. Let's take a listen into what's being said right now.
And we are going to take the Senate. And then we're going to do the work of the American people, not the work of the wealthiest. So what I say to all of that is, let's make America humane again. In Nebraska, we are led by our strong party chair, Jane Kleeb. Who is also now the president of the Association of State Democratic Committees and the DNC vice chair. Tonight we are joined by one of Jane's colleagues, the chair of the Kentucky Democratic Party, Coleman Eldridge. So please welcome to the stage Mr. Eldridge as he introduces Governor Beshear.
Hello, Nebraska! Hello, Nebraska! Mayor, thank you so much for that kind introduction. Mr. President, Senator Nelson, distinguished guests, it is great to be here for my second Nelson Gala. And of course, to my friend and sister, Precious McKesson, and to my sister and mentor, your incredible chair, Jane Kleeb. It is an honor to get to build a great party and a better nation with you every single day. It is also an honor, it is always an honor, to get to introduce our next speaker, who admittedly I am biased about, and who I know pretty well. In 2019, Andy Beshear was elected the 63rd governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Yeah? And, oh, it gets better. In 2023, he was reelected. So if you're doing the math, he twice defeated a Trump-endorsed, Mitch McConnell-backed candidate. And what I will tell you about our governor is that every day since then, in great days and in difficult days, is that he has been a source of grace and of dignity. Someone who has brought us together, not as Democrats or Republicans or as independents, but as neighbors, as folks who have come together in rural areas and urban areas and suburban areas as neighbors, bound together by what we can do to move our Commonwealth forward together. And here's the great part about our governor. He has delivered. He has proven that with a record of investments in healthcare, record job creations, year after year, record investments in education, being a pro-labor governor. And I will tell you that the list goes on and on. And the history need not yet be written on his historic 2 terms as governor for me to tell you that our Commonwealth has been made better by Democrats, Republicans, and Independents coming together, not only to elect him 2 times, but to support him as he governs with integrity, with compassion, and as he delivers results for the people of the Commonwealth. Now, you may have seen and listened to his podcast. You may have been watching his interviews as he has been speaking directly to the people of America, listening to the needs of American families. And because of that, you may have been witnessing what people in our 120 counties know very well. That to us, yes, he is governor. But for so many of us, he's just Andy. Now look, as the chair of the Kentucky Democratic Party, I can hype my governor all day and night. But let's cue a really great video.
How we treat people transcends party lines. It goes right to the heart of who we are. We believe in America, where we live out our values and move beyond this us versus them by remembering we are all Americans. We get through the hard times, and we get through them together. But to win, we have to show people not only who we're against, but what we're for, what we can get done for them.
My friends, please welcome my governor and everybody's friend, Andy Beshear.
Thank you all. Folks, my name is Andy Beshear, and I am the proud Democratic governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If you don't know me, I'm the guy that beat Mitch McConnell's hand-picked candidate by 5 points in 2023. I'm the candidate that beat Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate by 5 points in 2023. And for context, Donald Trump would win my state by 30 points the next year. So I am standing here as living, breathing proof that Democrats can and should win everywhere in the United States of America. I want to thank you for the invitation to join you tonight at the annual Ben Nelson Gala, and I'm pretty excited that we can look right here and see what a great Democratic governor looks like in Governor and Senator Nelson. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a proud pro-union governor. I am a proud pro-choice governor. I am a proud pro-LGBTQ plus rights governor. I am a proud pro-diversity governor. I'm a proud pro-public education governor. And I never thought I'd have to say this, I'm a proud pro-free speech governor. Now, some people will tell you that a guy who's pro all those things can't win in a place like Kentucky. But that's obviously not the case. So the question I always get is one word: how? How'd you do it? How'd you win? We won by staying true to our values of compassion, of empathy, and of doing right by our neighbors. We won by focusing, thank you. We won on focusing on people's most pressing needs, on those daily concerns that they wake up in. We just saw this Look at our massive wins on Tuesday. As the incoming chair of the Democratic Governors Association, I am thrilled that we didn't just win in New Jersey and Virginia, we trounced the other side and elected 2 amazing new governors. But it went beyond that because Democrats won everywhere. Folks, we won a statewide race in Georgia. We flipped a city council in South Carolina. We won in places that people didn't expect because of a relentless focus on affordability, on making people's life just a little bit easier, just a little bit better. And in doing so, we sent a strong rebuke to Donald Trump. Our job has to be to take all this energy, but to do it again in the midterms. We're going to keep winning because we have to. I don't want to leave a broken country to my kids, and I know you don't want that either. To do this, we've got to talk to people and not at them. And we have to get beyond the what and start explaining our why. That's how I won counties in eastern Kentucky that normally go to Republicans by large margins, including Breathitt County, the county that J.D. Vance falsely claims he's from. He ain't from where I'm from. Donald Trump won that county by 59 points. I won it by 22 the year before. So I know we can win. And part of how we do that is explaining our why. For me, my why is my faith. See, my faith teaches me the golden rule that we love our neighbor as ourselves. And the parable of the Good Samaritan says that everyone is our neighbor. My faith teaches me to do what's right for every Kentuckian, whether they always vote for me or have never voted for me. To treat them with respect, as people who just want a chance to live a good life, doing right by their family, their neighbors, and their community. We used to have a president who knew that. We've done this a couple times, but let's give a huge welcome to President Biden, who's here in Nebraska tonight. See, he was a president who governed not for red states or for blue states, but for the entire United States, pushing policies that led to the creation of jobs and investment in infrastructure all over the country. He showed up for Kentucky when we were hit by natural disaster after natural disaster, from devastating tornadoes where he walked through my dad's hometown, where 70% of every structure had been destroyed, to flooding that had wiped out entire hollers. He was there to help. I am deeply grateful for that. Mr. President, thanks for a lifetime of service to our country. As you probably saw, Kentucky was hit by another disaster this week. Now I think 14 people have died and dozens more were injured. We're left with grieving families and communities that are reeling. It's hard. And so if you're able later, please consider donating to our Team Kentucky Emergency Relief Fund to help those families that have lost someone in such a violent and tragic way. It's a reminder that we've got to be kind and take care of each other. And you know what I saw that in today? Your great new mayor of Omaha. What a great leader. Whew. And to my friend, Harry Dunn. A guy who defended the symbol of our democracy, who didn't care if the person he was protecting was a Democrat or a Republican. He stood up to do his job, and you know what? He knows what history was that day. He knows it was an attack on his democracy. And while some people want to deny it, what I can't figure out is how they didn't take one look at Harry and turn around and go home. Let's thank him for his service to this country. You can give Harry a standing ovation. You can still see him if he stands up. In these difficult and chaotic times, the stakes could not be higher, and we need to govern like it. As Democrats, we have got to get back to the work of showing people that we are spending all day, every day, trying to make their life a little bit better and a little bit easier. Kentuckians know my focus is on their daily needs, that I'm fighting to create better jobs because I know these gains will make Kentucky a better place for every single one of our families. And they know I'm going to show up because that's what people who actually care do. Leaders can't be afraid to show up even when the conversations might be hard or the situations might be tough. I want to give you an example. When I first ran for governor in 2019, I won a town called Henderson by a slim, small margin, about 500 votes. Since then, we've opened the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill in the country there, 350 great new jobs, paying $40 an hour before benefits. Now this mill is in a former coal mining town that, like too many places in my state, had felt forgotten and overlooked. I'll tell you, I'm the first Kentucky governor to ever say the following phrase: climate change is real. Because it is, and we've got to do something about it. But what's also true is in how we've sometimes talked about it. We've forgotten the fact that environmental justice came before the phrase of economic justice. That the people who mine the coal, that helped power this country to the Industrial Revolution, that helped create the strongest middle class we've ever seen, that helped power us through 2 world wars, were left behind and forgotten when the energy economy shifted. But what I saw that day was when you provide opportunity, when you don't dismiss communities like this, when you show up and fight for them, regardless of what the politics were like before, people will vote differently. In 2023, I won Henderson by 1,500 votes, 3 times more than 4 years before. That's how that Democrats can win in these areas that have been slipping away. Because I'm not showing up to announce red jobs or blue jobs. I'm not showing up to announce anything political. I'm showing up because 350 families are going to have their lives changed forever, are going to be able to take their kids to see a doctor, are going to have a chance for their kids to go to college, to save for retirement, and you know what? To not just be able to pay the grocery bill at the end of the week, but to be able to take their family on that vacation every year or so. That's what the American people want. And they know that's what I want for them. They know the why because of what I do every day for them as governor. And because they know that about me, when I do something that maybe they don't agree with, but I have enough respect to explain my why, they give me the benefit of the doubt. Let me tell you some examples. As governor, I've now restored voting rights to over 200,000 Kentuckians that can now participate in our great democracy. Why? Because everyone deserves that second chance. I finally got medical marijuana passed in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Why? Because no one who's going through cancer or dealing with PTSD should have to suffer instead of having access to relief. By the way, President Joe Biden just beat cancer and rang that bell. Congratulations. I removed a statue of Jefferson Davis from my Capitol Rotunda. Why? Because a glaring symbol of bigotry and division doesn't belong in any rotunda in our country. You know, the federal administration wants to make diversity a dirty word. They want you to believe that equity means that everyone isn't worthy of opportunities. They want to rewrite the hard-earned truths of our history. It's not how we do it in Kentucky. By executive order, I made Juneteenth an executive branch holiday for the first time in our history. Why? Because it's an important moment that deserves to be recognized. That same day, I signed an executive order based on the Crown Act. Why? Because no one should be discriminated against because of their hairstyle. I vetoed 4 anti-choice bills that have come to my desk, and one of the most extreme anti-choice pieces of legislation we've ever seen. Why? Because even though some people may disagree with me, that's what the women of Kentucky deserve. I recently issued an executive order banning so-called conversion therapy in the Commonwealth. Why? Because it's torture, pure and simple. I vetoed every piece of anti-LGBTQ legislation that has ever made it to my desk. Including the nastiest piece we'd ever seen. They passed it during my election year in 2023. They had about $10 million ready to launch these nasty ads. And I vetoed it anyways because it was the right thing to do. But I explained my why. I said my faith teaches me that all children are children of God, and I didn't want anybody picking on those kids. If my legislature was going to show them hate, I was going to show them love. If they were going to show them judgment, I was going to show them acceptance. But folks, I'll never forget the next day I'm opening up a factory, because the next day we always have to be opening up a factory. And a guy in a trucker hat makes a beeline towards me. And I think, oh my goodness, I know what's coming. But he stuck out his hand and he said, Governor, I'm not sure I agree with what you did yesterday, but I know you're doing what you think is right, and I support you. When we explain our why, we create the grace and the space for people to think differently, or maybe for people to even be able to disagree. I did those things because even though people might disagree with me, I was willing to explain my convictions, to have enough respect for them, to not just talk about that what, but the why. But they also knew that that next day, I'm going to be right back out there announcing new jobs, opening a new health clinic, or opening a new road that could cut 20 minutes off of their commute. That's the deal I've made with Kentuckians, and that's the deal Democrats should make with all Americans. I believe that Donald Trump won because he was able to convince that last small group of undecided voters that he'd be less focused on culture war issues and more focused on lowering costs and lowering inflation. Now the lights have gone out on the Trump administration. Because that's the opposite of what he's doing now. What you're getting from Donald Trump is chaos, incompetence, and cruelty. What we've seen in office is an obsession with culture war issues and a willingness to gamble away our economic gains on non-economic issues. Donald Trump is tearing apart our democratic norms. He's gutting our social safety net. He's weaponizing our National Guard. He's decimating our intelligence community. He's hurting public education, and he's telling your kids they have too many toys. The government is in shutdown, and the only reason that people don't have their full SNAP benefits is Donald Trump is telling his government not to pay them. A guy who could send $40 billion to Argentina in a shutdown can fully fund SNAP, and I'm proud that I filed suit, and we're going to get those benefits out to every single American who needs them. I'll close by saying that Donald Trump is trying to keep us distracted. He thinks that we are defenseless. We are not defenseless. We stood up on Tuesday. We told him we would fight back, and we will continue to fight for the future of this country because, like I said before, we will not leave a broken country to our kids and to our grandkids. As we look to the future, folks, we have got to win the U.S. House of Representatives in 2026. And we have to win governor's races all over the United States of America. Because if you want to fight in 2028 and have our next president determined in more than 5 states with zero margin of error, we've got to flip a lot of governor's mansions. I'm going to be out all next year, and we are going to win governor's races in places that you would never expect. But tonight, as you look around, you can see that Democrats are reorganized. We are ready to get out there and win. But let me ask you, are you ready for this fight? Are you ready to volunteer? Are you ready to knock the doors? Are you ready to elect Democrats in Nebraska? Are you ready to flip that U.S. House of Representatives? Are you ready to try to win back the Senate? Are you ready to elect a Democratic president in 2028? All right, Nebraska, we need you. We love you. Let's get out there and win. Thank you, Democrats.
Governor, thank you for an amazing speech, and Democrats, let's get it done. We will now be transitioning to our DNC, or our state party awards. Every year, our party celebrates the backbone of our party, volunteers. From county leaders to state senators, community allies, donors, and block captains. These are the individuals who build our party's infrastructure, enabling us to continue winning elections. And that is exactly what we are doing. Since Chair Klebb assumed office in 2017, we've gone from 504 Democrats elected in the state of Nebraska to 1,028 elected Democrats in Nebraska. The people I'm about to announce are part of this growth to build a strong and diverse Nebraska. Handing winners their awards are 2 of 5 DNC members from our state, Charlotte Swinninger and County Commissioner Sean Flowerday. Joining the winners on stage will be the leaders who are the namesake of awards, including Preston Love Jr., Rob Quirk, the son of late Deb Quirk, one of my favorite mayors of all time, Mayor Mike Fahey. While he's coming, let me tell you that I've had 2 amazing mayors, Mayor Mike Fahey and Mayor Jim Suttle, who have been tremendous allies and supporters in this journey as mayor. So thank you both. Ann Ashford, wife of the late Congressman Brad Ashford. Chair Jane Klebb. Cynthia Lemire, DNC member and wife of the late Frank Lemire.
All right, so that is a look from the Ben Nelson Gala there in Omaha, Nebraska. There, former President Joe Biden is set to speak shortly. We heard from Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. And that'll do it for us. Our time is up here on the Live Impact News stream this evening. Thank you for hanging with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Make sure you keep your TV on WCNC Plus. We'll be back here at 11 o'clock and on WCNC Charlotte. Have a good night, everyone.